Friends, cheers. Good morning. It is Monday. The market is about to open up here. This is a big day. This is a big this is a big day because obviously it's a big week, but this is a big day because we've got earnings today after market closes of Palantir, and that is going to be a big moment. It's not just you and me, it is everyone involved in the market, all the bears, all the bulls, everyone that's had doubts, had everything. This is going to be the moment where we go like, oh my god. Like I've said, I'm going to sound like a broken record, but I don't think this is a moment of people are going like, are they going to meet quota? I think it's a matter of like, how much are they going to meet quota? Obviously, Palantir is broken to $200. That's not that big of a deal to me. I think many of us have been here saying like, Palantir is going to 200. It's not that, it wasn't that hard to see. It really wasn't. It's not like you had to be a super duper, investor slash, a stock reader, analyst of, a candlestick chart. It's pretty obvious where the momentum was going. The last 4 or 5 quarterlies here, Palantir has been doing the same thing, same kind of run, same kind of sell-off over in the middle of the gap of the quarterlies and then pushing back up, and then after coming out with quarterlies, aggressive quarterlies, having a huge push up and hitting a new price point, then selling down, and then slowly walking back into that price point and hitting a new one right before quarterlies. This is what we're seeing here nonstop. So it's just doing that over and over. So obviously, I guess I'm going to talk about Palantir first because I went right into it. But what I want to say about these two stocks right now, Palantir and Sofi, I definitely think these are potentially two of the best stocks in the stock market for 2026. I really do believe that, and I think there's a lot of people that are already in them. They're thinking about getting into them. It's very obvious that the rhetoric in the stock market is changing quite a bit. We went from a month ago, it's an AI bubble, it's going to collapse, to now people are like very quiet about that because we just went through this round of quarterlies and majority of AI stocks won. They came out with great quarterlies. In Q4 for a lot of those like Apple, Amazon, they're only going to get better because Microsoft, they're only going to get better because of the holidays here. It more than likely seems that Tom Lee is going to get his 7,000 point range on the S&P 500. That's more than likely coming. Tom Lee at this point is saying that's the bare minimum of what we're looking at here. That's the minimum. We're essentially just 100, points away from that scenario right now. It's not going to take much more push out of the market. And this week could be the week if we see another great week of earnings with a lot of companies, and there's a lot of different companies reporting earnings this week. Palantir here, there's not a lot that I can say that I haven't said here. Palantir has continued to bring in deals. This is where I get very concerned and confused for people that are still doubting it, because I say this to make fun of myself more than anything. Okay, I have an obsession, probably an unhealthy obsession, with the stock market and stocks. I can get very obsessed with them. I'm very just obsessed with the stock market. I think that's very obvious. That's probably why I have 2 stock YouTube channels. With that, when I get obsessed with the stock, I look at it every day. I pay attention to it. I know it like my child. Palantir here has been getting deals before Q2, after Q2, and when I say after Q2, through the time from Q2 to now Q3, they've been getting a lot of deals. These deals between Q2 and Q3 have been really solid deals. Government deals, more government deals, big ones. The Boeing, the Tempo, which one I'm talking about. There's a lot of deals that have happened here that are extremely aggressive. This is why when people go, well, there's no way they're going to pull this off again, I think a lot of us that have been here watching Palantir go, actually, this might be another one of the biggest aggressive quarterlies. When you look at what's going through the minds of Wall Street right now and these stock analysts, they are not saying anything bearish right now. They are saying complete opposite. I mean, right now, they are putting out, there are these analyst companies that are putting out projections for Palantir saying 240, 260, 230 easily. This is where they're going now with Palantir, and all of them fully expect Palantir to come out with a billion plus whatever, billion 1.4, 1.5, 1.6. What is it going to be? This is what it is. What do you want to say here? This is just what it is. It's a very unique, interesting situation. I'm very much, if Palantir was not getting deals from what we could see publicly, I would be here saying I just don't know that this is going to be enough right now. I just don't know. I kind of said some stuff like that about Robinhood here a day or so ago, and I was like, I don't know that Robinhood's going to sustain these prices where it's at. That's a bank, that's something totally different, but the stock price has gotten really out of control, and I'm like, well, they're going to have to really come out with a good quarterly. Palantir is a completely different conversation when we talk about stock price compared to evaluation of what they're bringing quarterly wise. Of course it's expensive. Of course it's overvaluated. We know all that. But it's the fact that it's not stopping and it's not calming down, and they keep beating each quarterly with impressive, revenue. So this is a wild thing to watch. And, historically, it's a thing that you're going to remember because, you were there during the moments of really heavy aggression during Palantir. I've used this analogy many times, but it's the God's honest truth that, there's many people 5, 6 years ago who were looking at NVIDIA and going, well, NVIDIA's never going to make more than $5 to $10 million a quarterly. There's no way. Why would they, off of chips? There's no way they can make more money off of that, something like that. Well, things change here. Now NVIDIA's on its way to make, 60, 70, $80 billion quarterlies. It's crazy. So it's a wild thing to watch here. It really is. There's just things in life that don't have to make sense. And sometimes when you find a good investment, just enjoy it. Enjoy the ride. There's people here that are going to be buying it at 200, 190, wherever they can maybe catch Palantir in the next 48 hours. I don't know. That will still probably be in profit range, massive profit range here 4 or 6 months from now. That's a real thing. So, and this is why I've said this, but it's a real idea that is probably going to come true here, that Palantir in the next time, I don't know how long to say, because Palantir has proven so many people wrong for good and bad reasons. But stock split is being talked about so heavily right now with this company, with this stock. It's really interesting. Now, if they were to announce a stock split, I don't know what they would wait. Would they wait for the stock to go to $1,000? Would they wait for it to go to $800? How long would it take for them? How much more aggressive would this have to get for for something like this to happen? What would they do, a 5-to-1, 3-to-1? I don't know if they would do anything bigger than that. I don't know that I could see them doing like a 10-to-1. 3-to-5 I think is possible, but it's still, imagine you go into the first stock split with Palantir holding 5, 10, 20, 30, 100, maybe more than that shares of Palantir. That's a very cool thing to do. That's the simplest thing to say. That is just cool. That is just downright cool. There's a lot of people that you could literally have someone's retirement portfolio in the palm of your hands here with this stock. That's what's so interesting. Think about 5-10 years from now what this will look like if they keep on this progression. I would imagine there will be some point in time where Palantir kind of just levels out, where they kind of just maybe they just kind of hit this peak. We saw that with NVIDIA for a moment, and that's why I say that 5-6 years ago NVIDIA was just calmly making $8-10 million quarterlies, or excuse me, $8 to $10 billion quarterlies, and no one really ever thought, the majority never thought, well, it's not gonna do more than that. Well, look what happened. So things keep getting crazy. They keep getting crazy. I would much rather listen to someone be positive and happy and really think outside the box of what something can do than listen to negative Nancy's all day. I really would. In SoFi, the main thing I can say about SoFi is that what an investment. This is the right place for every investor to be right now. It is affordable. It is attainable. It has so much more meat left on the bone. In 2026, I think is going to be just a rock and roller coaster ride of a year. This is going to be amazing stock to hold for people. I think we're going to see SoFi, once it hits this $1 billion quarterly, which more than likely will be this next quarterly here, Q4, it's going to have all the excuses it needs. It really is. It has them now, but once it comes out with this, we're talking about S&P inclusion. We're talking just, ETFs, more of them. There's going to be a lot of stuff happening here. This is going to be proven to be a solid, functional, ongoing banking system that is not stopping for anyone. So it's just an amazing investment. It's really wild that it's still the price point it is, because it's so attainable to majority of investors right now. And most of us right now, I would say majority of investors, all of us together with SoFi, are in profit range. More than likely, everyone is in profit range or very near to each other. It's pretty much where the high is at right now. It's sold off a little bit, but still, you're not too deep in it. But this is a situation where, we could still have another rate cut in December. The market's still probably going to have one or two more nice little runs in the S&P 500, more than likely. Once it hits that 7,000 point range and keeps going, it's going to drag a lot of things along with it too. So that's going to be very interesting when you're holding a lot of, stocks that are very much in a growth pattern. So, I look at these two stocks as these are going to be two of the best stocks to hold going into this year. No doubt about it. There's still so much growth that we could see with both of these. Palantir is on its own trajectory. I don't even know where it's going at this point. I really don't. I was calling it at 100, 200. I felt very calm about that, very safe. Now at this point, I'm just sitting back and going, okay, I'm just going along for the ride. I'm just the grandpa in the back going, I remember when I could buy Palantir for $100, and people are like, that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. Why would you spend $100 on Palantir? So, it's very, very interesting to see what's happening now. And, I think we'll have a lot of those conversations in the near future about SoFi. SoFi is going to continue to be a vicious little company here and a problem more than likely for other banking systems in the future. I really do believe that. I think it's going to be a major problem for bigger banks. They are pushing into technology. They are pushing into the younger generation. And sooner or later, the younger generation that they have pushed into is going to come calling here in the next amount of time with, hey, we need a car loan. Hey, we need a house loan. Hey, we need credit cards. We need more bank accounts, savings accounts, investment accounts, all this kind of stuff. And of course, a lot of them are doing it, but it's going to keep compiling. And what does that do? That puts more money in the pockets of SoFi, 100%. Which undoubtedly will do well for investors. Friends, I wish all of you the best of luck today. Let's see what happens here. I am biting my nails on this Palantir quarterly. I'm excited, so excited, and I think we're going to do well here. Take care, friends. Bye-bye.